All right, we are going to kick it off. So first off, thank you everyone for joining us for the end of July community fireside chat for Bellum. My name is Karmakut. I'm the creative director over here. We are going to be just going through a couple of announcements and items for the community, as well as we've got a couple cool leaks here, but just sharing our plans and what the progress is currently. Um, yeah. So we'll just jump straight into it. So a lot of these past couple months were pretty big for the studio. There's been a lot of growth internally, and with that growth, it's been a lot to kind of scale, get procedures down, onboard certain people, deal with the influx of new assets, new talent, new procedures, and whatnot. So there's been a lot of that going on behind the scenes. We did still manage to get out a sizable content patch, this last couple weeks ago during the month of July, and that included Savo, included new features, included the new equipment for the Rangers, or not the Rangers, the Russians and the Al Salam insurgents. There's a whole bunch of new gear there. There's new weapons, the DP, the Lee Enfield, the RPKs made it in. There's definitely like a lot that was added for that last content patch, as well as a new game mode. And so those efforts are still continuing, though, as you guys know, after every single content patch, we kind of do like a little bit of a cleanup sweep, and we spend a couple of weeks, if not a month or so, working on polishing those features and working out any kinks that might have arisen from the addition of said assets or features and functions. Carrying was also added. The CC piece was added. There's a lot that was added this last month. And so a lot of that needed to, or might have even revealed some things that we need to work on and improve. So that's what we spend a lot of the time doing. And that's what this kind of August mid quality of life patch is kind of focused on. So that's just talking about July as a recap, where we are as a studio. And we're pretty happy with where we've ended up. There's been a lot of progress on a lot of different fronts internally. And scaling and getting ramping in preparation for the end of the year push here has been quite successful. Now, we are trying to improve a lot of things for you guys, or from the consumer perspective, and we'll get into that right now. So one thing is, we got a lot of data, and we talked about data a lot in the last fireside chat, but we did realize some data that really is going to kind of affect how we continue development and pushes here in the future. As you guys who have been here for quite a while know, in the very, very beginning during alpha, all my alpha players and founders know that progress used to be quite fast, or at least it was perceived at being fast, because we pushed features out, nearly weekly, if not every other week. And so there was always something moving. There were a couple of discussions that happened internally, as far as like if that was the way we want to continue, if we should move to what we were on for the last little bit here with supporters, which was like kind of more monolithic or larger monthly patches. And just from looking at where we're at, we've kind of made the decision to kind of go with a hybrid approach. So what I mean by that is we're kind of splitting the difference, where we're going to continue resuming the weekly-ish pushes of content in order to give you guys the freshest things or freshest features to continue testing and playing with and experiencing as soon as humanly possible. We think that's just better for the community. I think for you guys feel like we can handle bugs a lot faster than some other projects, and we think that is one of our advantages, is that we can fix things quite quickly, and we should retain that ability in order to give you guys a better experience. Now, what that is going to also mean, though, however, is that it's not going to return to the same level of intensity that alpha or the closed alpha pre-founders kind of tempo was. This is going to be still a little bit slower than that, just to keep things manageable and sustainable. But we will be returning to pushing things pretty much every week-ish. There's going to be something pushed every week. It could be something minor, it could be something of medium kind of importance. And we are going to be holding the high-level, really marquee items for some key objectives and dates and deadlines that we want to hit. And once again, that's just so that we can really have these big surges still, because we do see the advantage of the monthly surges. That is something that's important to us as far as a studio is concerned, as far as on a marketing front, even to a degree, even though we really don't do any marketing at all. And we really do want to start fixing that here, looking at the end of the year. We're very happy with the project still up until this point. Once again, This is a very niche game, very small project. We're focusing on a very specific goal. We have not even begun ramping as far as marketing is concerned. We're just focused on serving, the very hardcore group of playtesters here and setting the foundation. And even with that, like, we are very satisfied with the amount of traction we have. And there is no worries on that front at this point in time. That being said, after going through a couple months of doing the big monthly pushes, we do see the advantage of having something large to kind of rally the community behind. So we do want to make sure that we're kind of getting the best of both worlds, right? The existing player base feels like we're making progress consistently, but we're still holding a couple big punches back so that we can essentially get large I want to say like resurgence waves. That's kind of how I frame it in my mind. So that's the dev cadence moving forward. That's a big shift here. And then in addition to that, with that, you guys might have noticed that the cadence has kind of shifted a little bit as we added more and more play dates to the schedule. So starting the 12th of August, we are going to be having Wednesdays. So that is 100% happening. So Wednesdays through Sundays will be occurring. And once again, this was just because we saw the value after a couple of months of having, Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays at the very least for very experimental testing. Like, that is very valuable from our perspective as a dev studio, is to be able to have 2 or 3 days where we can rally community to focus on a experimental branch, rather than, running the 24/7 servers and then having to like draw people away from that and kind of like, not necessarily twisting arms, but having to try to get people to beta test new features rather than just playing the game to play the game. Once again, we are in beta testing. This is a beta testing period. This period is being used very delicately and very meticulously by the team in order to get certain data and flesh out certain systems. So having Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays as these super experimental days has been very, very, very advantageous for us. And we wanted to keep that as long as humanly possible. That being said, we do feel confident that we can get by with 2 of those testing days moving forward, which is now going to be, once again, Monday and Tuesday. And Wednesday through Sundays will be the weekend full playtest at this point. So that's kind of what the cadence looks like, what the dates are looking like spreading out here as far as going into the next month. We talked about ramping. So we're ramping up on all ends. There's ramping on the art side, and the feature side, and the programmatic side. There's a lot of community effort stuff that's you guys are going to be seeing in the next little bit here. Community servers are pretty much right around the corner at this point. We know we had originally slated them for July, but we ran into some hiccups, some large backend updates and overhauls to the large underlying infrastructure behind the studio. So I know it wasn't like there was nothing sexy that really we could have talked about there or shown to you guys as far as the overhaul of what's under the hood, but it was a big month. July was a pretty big month for us. There's a lot of changes that we did internally. So yeah, that being said, community servers are right around the corner for the community members and community leaders here, just so that you guys are aware. Once again, we're very careful about how we release certain features. We want certain features to be tested and to be bulletproof, and we are doing a lot in terms of supporting community servers and communities as a whole. What I mean by that is not just on the interaction side and the relationship side, but also on the tooling side. Just because a lot of us over here at Astartes used to run communities, used to host servers and whatnot. We understand the pitfalls and the frustrations that come with community server hosting, and we're doing our best on our side to build out a lot of the tooling, a lot of the structure, a lot of the functionality and features in-house, so that when you guys eventually get to host your own servers, it is as effortless as humanly possible. That is a very big pillar or kind of project of ours, just because we come from that side. We understand why that's important, and we understand how frustrating certain options can be. So that's just why it's taken us extra long compared to maybe some other studios as far as getting community servers up, is because when we get you those community servers, it's not just going to be like, okay, here are the server files, good luck. Everything's going to be baked into our system, baked into our infrastructure. You're going to have the panel and everything, all the tools to be able to do, everything without having to dig through endless amounts of documentation or build your own tools yourself. So that's kind of why that's taken longer than you would expect, but it is very close at this point in time. On that note, right, we talked about how it's going to be tested. The way that testing is going to be rolled out most likely is we'll be picking a couple of communities at a time for certain time periods, and having them, very controlled, like almost us sitting there with them. Maybe not like all the time, but like very controlled, like working with that one specific community and seeing how they are managing and utilizing the servers over that weekend, or the server infrastructure, I should say, over that weekend or that period of time that they're in control of it, and gathering feedback and suggestions and whatnot from those communities. So just keep that in mind, that this rollout is going to be slow, just like everything else, and it is going to be controlled, just so we can ensure that we are covering all of our bases. We're going to be having some more community-wide announcements as far as onboarding, resources, and just communication. We're bringing on some additional individuals to help assist with that, just because we think it's time that we start investing a little bit more into communication and coordination with the community, as far as onboarding, or just, in general, communication between the devs and the player base at large. That being said, I think we do a pretty good job already, but kind of formalizing some of that and getting some help there, as well as on the marketing front. So a little bit more of an outreach focus coming up here, especially as we wind up for the end of the year. So what's coming? So we have a new patch, once again, coming in August. But before that patch comes in August, next week on the 5th, we are going to be releasing the Savo expansion. This expansion is quite large. It is, I don't want to say it doubles the, it is. It's doubling the AOs, right? So it's almost double the playable size of what you have right now on Savo, just because it is a new AO, new part of the map, and by virtue, it is essentially doubling the size of the playable area of Savo. So it is a pretty significant map expansion. There are new terrains and kind of points of interest in that area. I'll be sharing a couple images regarding that here shortly as well. Okay, and then there's going to be a big, or not big, I should say, but some sizable quality of life features and changes coming within the month as well, which would be team shuffling. Now, this is a very rudimentary team shuffling system, just because we don't have stat tracking or progression or levels or, MMR or ELO or anything like that back to players. So just after every couple of rounds, it's going to shuffle the players. Eventually, as we get those additional systems to track player proficiency, we will be doing kind of a better job, or more controlled job, I should say, at shuffling players. But for now, we understand that there's a bit of a concern with, like, one team just ends up never changing, and so we want to kind of mix that up a touch. The second thing is going to be queue forgiveness, or crash forgiveness. That thing is going to be put in as soon as we can. That's also a very high priority. We've also done a lot of work to work on stability, performance, and just general ease of use with the client. Whether that be the launcher or whatnot. So that the crashes have also gone down, and we've been working on a lot of the crashes as well. 5.8.1 is also on the horizon. That's probably not coming for August, but will be coming shortly after, as for the engine upgrade, and that's going to fix a couple of engine crashes, as well as get us access to a couple of new really cool tools, to include the nanite foliage and some lumen performance tools. So that's definitely a big win coming in August eventually. And then after that, there's going to be a lot of content coming in the patch after. Once again, just because of the nature of us going content, then quality of life, content, then quality of life kind of cycle. So that covers the majority of the topics today and that we're going to cover. There are a couple leaks, so we're going to be sharing a couple images. I'll be posting them in the announcements channel. So the first is going to be the expansion of Savo. So this not only is like a whole new area to play in, and these are only a couple of the images that we have now. Once again, work in progress. Even more stuff is going to be added by the time you get it next week. But we have like new cave areas. We have a nice new kind of, not oasis, but like a watering area or pond, or I don't even know what you want to call that. And then we've also done a lot of work to continue fleshing out tunnels. Tunnels are a very big portion to Savo. Once again, this is in the announcements channel. And this is going to be, one of the main ways that different elements will be able to traverse around the map, is utilizing these tunnels and cave systems. And it's pretty extensive. There's some of these caves you've seen already in the existing Savo map, and that is continuing in the other parts of the map as well. They are now lit, and there's lighting within the caves too, so it's not pitch black. Night vision and flashlights, I know some people are going to ask, are not currently being worked on yet, but they will be, eventually. But yeah, as far as the Savo map updates, as in terms of like additional quality of map assets and what. Here are a couple of new things that we've worked on, which is some termite mounds, which is really cool because those do provide some cover on the map as you play. There's a lot of additional art assets and environment assets that we've been working on as well. And then here are the two cool things. So we are working on mortars and marksman rifles. This should have been announced and was announced a little bit ago, but just to kind of share, these are, our models rendered. These are not real photos. These are all our models. But the 60 millimeter mortar has been completed from a model perspective and is undergoing rigging and mechanics development. And then we've also gotten a couple of the marksman rifles. We're not sharing all of them today, but we do have the MRAD for the Ranger marksman team completed. And every team will be getting a marksman rifle. And that's all I will say about the marksman rifles right now. Keep in mind that the marksman rifles and the mortars, once again, this is coming in the larger content patch after this quality of life patch. So don't expect to see these anytime soon, but just letting you know the progress and what is being worked on behind the scenes. Of course, this is just a fraction of the content that we have ready to go, and we'll be sharing leaks like this throughout the month of August in preparation for September. Okay. That is everything I have to cover. We'll do about 15 minutes of Q&A, and then we will go ahead and hop into the Bellum dev test. We're testing an experimental branch. This one might be broken, it might be buggy. This one is an actual R&D branch, and that's going to be happening in about 15 minutes after we wrap up this Q&A. So make sure you have the experimental branch downloaded. It is going to literally say R&D build 15. Yeah. Okay. That being said, we're going to start hand raising here in a second. And then we'll jump into the dev test. Also, just a heads up that we will also be doing another test most likely after this dev test. Once again, our experimental branch, there will be another branch pushed or update pushed. Okay, any questions? You're free to raise your hand. We'll do it for about 20-ish minutes, 15 minutes, and then we'll skip. So once again, I have created my line. Go ahead and type your question, and we'll start going through this. Narwhal's asked, will there be a party system for groups in reaction to Team Shuffle? Not yet. Yeah, it's pick our poison right now. And the better thing for us right now is to just have this Team Shuffle and kind of test it and see where it's at and see where what it fixes, what it doesn't fix, and then react to that accordingly. The party system is a larger system that will come with the social kind of infrastructure planned later at this time, not yet. Barrel swaps are planned for MG rolls as well as tripod stuff for the 240. That just is a later feature to come. We've just been working on more higher impact kind of weapons because the main thing is adding barrel swaps means that we have to add barrel heat, and barrel heat will affect all rifles. So we need to, there's a lot of back end work there just because it won't just affect the belt feds or the weapons that do affect or that can barrel change. It will also affect rifles and whatnot. So that's a larger system that just requires a lot because, and then you have suppressors that increase heat. It's just a lot. So it's slowly been cooking in the back. Weapon malfunctions are not being added anytime soon, but they are planned to be added. Will you guys help facilitate scrims in competitive play? So once community servers come out, like community servers will probably be the main avenue for that. That's pretty much the goal is get the power into the hands of the community so the community can then host their own trainings better and host their own scrims or whatnot better. Yeah, that's the handoff that'll happen. As far as official support, our standing is that we won't have any official Bellum competitive events that are like Bellum or Astartes sanctioned until the game is more complete to a point where we are pretty. Now we can fire events in a surefire manner without having to deal with unfinished or janky aspects of the experience. When will Team Shuffle be triggered? It'll be triggered every couple of rounds. So you'll get a couple of rounds with the same team, and then it'll shuffle. Any estimates on the Asia player base? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. If you mean servers, Barton might have a better idea of when we're getting Oceania servers. But the player base is here. I know of a lot of Australians who just play on the NA servers. A lot of players just play on the NA servers just because it's easier to do than rather seed a whole region based server just for now. Just that with the size of the community, it doesn't make sense to split too much yet. Thoughts on fully urban maps? We are still just it's just a time and resource thing, right? Like having a whole city is just a lot of time and resources. So definitely something you'd like to do. It's just going to take time. As you guys can see, uh, you know, the Savo ramp that took even a couple of months after early access, or not early access, the closed beta launch, and so that just kind of should give you an idea of like how things work, right? It's like we get big bumps, we have to get things in development, then we have to get them ready to be playable, and then they finally land. And so these things just take time and resources. Are there any vehicles planned for the game? Yeah, there are going to be vehicles planned for the game, rotary transport, as well as vehicles up to IFVs, as in nothing more or including IFVs, are planned. So that's MRAPs and APCs and like general transport vehicles. The drones should have been kind of fixed with the removal of the redeploy. I'll have to look into that. And then we do have an unlimited resupply fix coming. So the unlimited ammo thing was never intended. Ammo is supposed to always be restricted and limited. So that's the way that we solve that problem is twofold. And this kind of tells you how much things are connected, right? Eventually the redeploy button will be completely gone, right? And the reason for that is because there shouldn't be any reason that you should have to redeploy. I know we've tested it and it's already gone in a couple here and there, and we're still like on the edge of like if we're at that junction of when we can completely remove it and keep it removed. But the reason for that is because like we're super early, right? There are going to be bugs and instances where individuals are going to get stuck in rocks, spawn underground, stuff like that, just while we're still fleshing the game out. That there's still potentially some times that we need the redeploy button. So like we just recently reached that kind of juncture or breakpoint where we think we can remove it because the amount of bugs that require redeploy have decreased dramatically from my founders or even like closed alpha players. But that's the first way that gets solved. The second way it gets solved is we added in the cross-loading and the resupply points on the COP and the main and the PBs and whatnot. Currently, the cross-loading resupply off those is unlimited currently. That's not intended long-term either. Like, limited ammo is a feature of the game. It is a very important function that shapes how engagements play. It shapes the asymmetrical values of the experience, and it's a tool for us to create more authentic engagements. I know everyone hates running out of ammo, and you should hate running out of ammo, but like, there's a lot of things that require. There's a lot of breakpoints we have to hit before we really crank down on some of these knobs, and we're continually testing the waters of if we're at that breakpoint throughout closed beta testing. So that's why you see a lot of these features flag on and off as far as unlimited ammo, limited ammo, a lot of ammo, minimal ammo. Is because we're always trying to see if we're ready for that change as a game during this time, right? And we're close. Like a lot of these features have started to get finalized and locked down. The decrease in total ammo count with the addition of the cross-loading points. And as we continue development and we continue seeing a lot of these features continue to be either finished and not buggy anymore or just brought to completion, the game will continue to get more and more hardcore. Like that is just the nature of the project. That is just the design philosophy. So don't get too comfortable with the abundance of things that you have now. I want to make that very, very clear because you are purchasing and playing into a very early game. And a lot of the things that we have right now are very much so guardrails because of the current state of development. So just keep that in mind. Okay. How would tournaments work? Once again, that's going to be a community-led effort. That's not going to be an official effort for the foreseeable future. Will we ever get the FN model D-bar? Well, we'll look at that. We're always looking at new weapons and what we can add, but there's some animation things that we want to do that restrict or kind of dissuade us from going super, super wide with just copy-paste weapons. We really want every weapon to be very unique and interesting instead of just having a whole bunch of variety for variety's sake. You'll eventually be able to change size with customization and progression. That will come with time. Will the AK-74M and AKM get separate animations in the future? Yeah, time and resources thing. We just have one animator currently. One first-person animator. When will the Rangers get Tanio, Tex, and Surefires? They should have Surefires already, if I'm not mistaken. And then we should have... Oh, if you're talking about functional flashlights and Surefires, that's coming later with time. But yeah, customization is also on the docket eventually. Has there been a relationship between the introduction of the recon element and less games filled out with HQ? If so, what do I make of it? So HQ, from our perspective as a dev studio, it's fine if it doesn't get filled at this current point in time. The game should not... how do I put this? At this current point in time, with how early we are in development, because there aren't as many tools for the HQ element, and number one, there aren't just flat out players that are experienced enough to really lead a platoon, we are happy with the HQ being taken just by people who are encouraged to play HQ. Because at the end of the day, that is the people that you want filling HQ anyways. You don't want HQ just to be filled for HQ's sake, because that leads to it being played improperly or leading to some very frustrating or strenuous in-game interactions with other humans. You want the people that are taking leadership roles to want to take the leadership roles. So if it's empty and no one wants to take the leadership role, that's okay. The biggest thing that we're missing from that piece of the puzzle is the chain of command passing down the abilities to the next in line. Right now, the chain of command only passes down the spawns internal to the squad. So if you don't have a squad leader, then the alpha team leader inherits the leadership spawn. If you don't have an alpha or squad leader, the Bravo inherits the team-wide or the squad-wide spawn. But we do not currently pass down the patrol base placement or the or P placement or anything down the chain of command. And that's a piece of the puzzle that's kind of missing, that makes that a little bit of a janky experience. And that's being worked on to make sure that the abilities pass down through chain of command, so that you don't have to have someone in the 6th slot. But if someone does take the 6th slot, they reclaim those abilities and that control. So yeah, once again, we're okay with HQ not being filled, because if it's not being filled, it means that the people that are meant to or want to play that role are not there in that current session, and to force someone into that role that doesn't want to be in that role is not going to be great for you either. I guarantee it. So that's our take on HQ. And once again, this will get fixed as some more systems come into play, but not only more systems come into play, but more tools, and more tools including the long awaited ETAC overhaul for command and control, as well as additional abilities and capabilities for the leadership. Because right now, yeah, it's hard to play the leadership. You don't have the tools really to control the platoon as you really should. So it's okay that the platoon HQs don't get filled out as much. That's completely fine for this current state in development. It's fine. There are not going to be any DMRs for the squad level. The amount of magnified optics that we add into the experience are very limited for a very specific reason. The reason why you get the most, this is one thing I'm going to drill home pretty much anytime, every single time that I talk to the community at large, right? The reason why you have extremely authentic gunfights in Bellum is because of the lack of visibility. And that is by design. That is by design. I know it's frustrating coming in from like all the arcade shooters or other shooters from previous generations where they cannot push the same level of foliage detail as current generation games. But the fact that you cannot see something is important to the experience, whether you realize it or not, because that is what gives you the ability to maneuver. That is what creates authentic fog of war, and that's what creates these long, meaty firefight engagements. The second you start adding in magnification, or too much magnification, and cutting that down, you are going to end up with an arcade-like experience, unless you have the proper friction with optics in place. So like that is very important, and very important to realize that adding more magnification and more visibility into the game is bad for the authentic experience, because authentically you don't know where you're getting shot at more than half the time. You just don't. And you just have to realize that if you're playing Bellum, you're playing Bellum to get an authentic firefight experience, and the authentic firefight experience is you don't see anything until you do. Right, that is just how that works. You close with, you get closer until you finally see them, and then you kill them, or you're killing people via volume of fire, or you're maneuvering and closing with to destroy. Right, that is the whole purpose. That is what engagements should be. That is how we want to authentically represent them. And the change in visibility, or the visibility, the levels of accessible visibility will very rarely ever change, with the exception of a couple special tools. So just keeping that in mind and making sure that statement is as clear as it can be. Okay. Is it going to stick with each role having the one gun, or will there be more customization options in the future? Bird, there will be more customization options in the future. That's, once again, it's just a massive time and resource thing, right? Because we can't just add, okay, the Rangers are getting their new customization options. When we do it, we want to have it so that everyone gets the customization options and the different selections at the same time, which means we need to have a catalog or a large set or collection of things releasing at the same time, which means we need to bank it all up and then release it together. Otherwise, like, the faction balance can get out of whack. Mystic Edge asks, will there be physical bipod toggling? More on that very, very soon here, actually. That has been a system that has been in development for a little bit here already. Is there any expectation that conventional forces will end up getting optics in more roles? So I just covered that. Ragnar asks, I think that is a great question in regards to scrims and competitive. I think that's casting of matches would also be pretty awesome. Yeah, once again, our goal is going to be in the short term here to empower the community. Are there sidearms in the games? And if not, will there be sidearms? There will be eventually. They're just not going to be as impactful as you think they are, which is why they haven't been added. There are more higher impact features, mechanics, and systems that we've been focusing on. Night Owl asks, how is the design going with the magnified optics? Any challenges associated with too easy of target identification? So this is very much so why we opted to go with marksmans first before like any kind of 4x, 3x, or LPVOs, is because with the addition of the way that we're going to do the marksman rifles, it will be less overpowered than if we gave every rifleman 4x, 3x, or LPVOs. Right, is because it's limited to very few people. The magnification is going to be substantial, which means it's actually not as strong in the short or medium range. Right, it's going to be very specific or purpose built as far as the platform is concerned and where you're able to engage. And there's some other tools that we have that we can kind of talk about this already. The marksman team will have one life. That is just how that is going to work. That is how we're going to get the snipers to work authentically. And to play authentically as they should. You should not be running around with the DMR, with the sniper, la-di-da, just kill, die, repeat, right, that you get in other games. You should be playing the platform as you should. And some parts of that platform are making sure that you're getting to certain places undetected, making sure you're making these engagements that you know you can get away from, and engaging at ranges that are advantageous to your platform, that keep you out of harm's way. So snipers will be restricted to one life when they're introduced, and that is going to be probably, I would say, pretty confidently, that is going to be the most authentic sniping experience you'll get in any video game ever. You'll get those adrenaline spikes as you normally would, and snipers will become a high priority target, meaning that, hey, your snipers are not going to be one life lone wolfing out in the sticks unless they want to get clapped for the rest of the game. They're going to want to work with the team, because if they are alone, then they are toast. So that's our implementation of snipers when we finally release them. You've already seen the trialing of this with the recon elements. You can see people kind of react differently to when they're given 2 lives, and how that shapes the thinking when it comes to playing that role, and how they want to be utilized in combination with the element rather than getting caught alone and wiped because you get wiped once you're already on 1 life. So that's the deal there. There are going to be ways for squad creation similar to Squad for Friends to kind of take over SL, and kind of not in the same way that Squad does it, because our Orbat is rigid, our roster is rigid. You cannot create a whole bunch of different squads and lock them, but there will be ways. We have clever ways that we're going to have friends be able to join the same squad. What ways do you plan to combat or improve issues with teamwork? A lot of this is going to come from community side as well as from onboarding side, and then dialing up the hardcore aspects is important. I know a lot of people get kind of squealy when they hear the game is going to get more hardcore, but the thing that you need to realize is if it's arcadey, you need less teamwork. If it's more hardcore, like for example the sniper situation that I just mentioned, if the risk and the stakes are higher, you're more inclined to work better together. There also needs to be the carrot on the other end, which is the progression and customization system, right? So that is the overarching plan with player kind of interaction and communication coordination, is that you need to have the hardcore side, and you have the onboarding side. You need to empower the community, and you need to create the carrot or the reward, which is winning, and working together should lead to winning, should lead to rewards, and then we can impact player behavior that way. Of course, obviously, as I just laid that all out, you can see we're missing certain pieces, while all those pieces are coming into play shortly. What am I looking forward to the most? Vehicles. Yeah, vehicles. Can 1.7 and 1.9 get their original lives back? Those have gone up from 2 lives to 3 lives already. But that is going to be a back and forth thing. Once again, that is going to be something that is constantly monitored as far as how leadership gets played. Because I will tell you right now, like seeing leadership run around, sometimes lone wolfing is like really, it's a difficult. That's one of the more difficult specific role balancings to make, because you are right, they should be with the platoon, but because of the structure and having it as a 4-man element, certain players are incentivized to split out. There's a whole other system that we've not even talked about that will kind of address this, which is why this number is going back and forth so much, is because we're testing it and seeing where it's at currently before we add the new feature. But there's going to be stuff on top of everything that we have right now that will disencourage lone wolfing. So that's why the numbers just recently went back up from 2 to 3, or just up back to +1. But that is always something that we're monitoring. Okay. Any update, for the drone feeder on Savo? That's being looked at. We might have a fix in for the 5th. How does hardware accessibility factor into development decisions regarding targeted audience size? We're just targeting our min spec, our stated min spec. That's the target. That's the goal. Yeah, we're leveraging a lot of new technologies that just require like newer hardware. That's just how it is. That's the game we want to make. That's the experience we want to provide, is something that leverages the new technologies. And yeah, we're just targeting our min spec. What are some small things that most people won't think of that are needed for early access that are ready to be pushed? I already talked about a whole bunch of them. Yeah, nothing further past what I've already spoken about. Will the MRAD have anti-vehicle capabilities in the future, such as techies? Kind of ish. The MRAD is multi-caliber compatible. So I would imagine we would allow some customization progression unlock that allows you to choose what caliber you're firing. I would see that very much so as a possibility. Is the Bellum TV self-funded? We are completely independent, no publisher or institutional funding at this point in time. Yeah, below IFEs, correct. Vehicle-wise. What's the size of the dev team we're working with? It's we're like 25-ish with outsourcing. We want to stay this size for as long as humanly possible. Will players have entrenching tools, and will you be able to melee with them? Something along those lines. This isn't like World War II simulator or World War I simulator. You're not gonna be like digging massive trenches and stuff. But there will be some limited fortification. Would an unstick option be an option instead of redeploy if someone gets stuck? Yeah, we've already tuned a lot of the code in the last couple months to make sure that spawning inside of things does not happen anymore. Okay. It was mentioned that party system is a large part of a larger social environment. Oh, that's not a question. Sorry. Will the attachment system for the weapons use a point system, something like Sandstorm? No, no, no. It won't. The weapon customization in Bellum is not going to be as crazy as like. It's not going to be arcadey. It'll be authentic. That's all I can really say. So yeah, it's just going to be as authentic as we can make it. It's not going to be like you have to make some weird, wacky choices or you're going to build a weird, wacky gun with the points min-maxing. It'll feel authentic. You'll be able to build authentic guns. Yeah. When can you attach a bayonet? Soon, maybe? No, I'm just kidding. No melee planned anytime soon. Sorry. It'd be nice to have, but not a focus. Yeah. Let me go through here. I think we're wrapping up, though. Okay. I'm going to write a line here, and when I hit this line, we're going to stop the questions, just because we're kind of running over already. Any plans for a new game mode? No plans for a new game mode anytime soon. We just released our third game mode that's going to require tweaking. A lot of the focus now is going to be improving, expanding, and finalizing the current game modes that we have before we continue to the next game mode. So we're going to take some time here to just chill on these three. We think these three provide a decent spread of different unique experiences. And we would rather improve and finalize these than continue pushing out game modes. Occupation is still the final end state, but of course that requires vehicles, so we're still just on the road to occupation. What's the plan for server sizes? Our goal is to hit the 100 player bar. That's the goal. We're currently at 80. This number will be rising in the future, obviously. Will we get sidearms? Already talked about it already. Weather. Yeah, weather. So we tested weather quite extensively. And we made the determination that performance-wise, we had to do a couple things before we continued rolling them out the way that they were being rolled out. So we still want to have weather. We are going to have to approach weather a different way than what we had originally assumed. So that's going to kind of go on the back burner a little bit here. When collecting intel from enemies, would there be a possibility to scavenge a frag or a smoke? That's planned. Not in development yet, but planned. I would totally be fine with a less amount of ammo if people were easier to spot but with how it is for visibility, any less ammo, and it would be a major slog to play. I think it's a skill issue. That's my personal, that is straight up my personal, my opinion on that. I think people shoot way too much, way more than they should. I think people full auto way more than they should, and are punished for it. Yeah, I think, I definitely think that you have enough ammo. You have enough ammo to do what you need to do and to make an impact. Yeah, I do think it's a skill issue. But yeah, we'll eat some things because, yeah, there's been a slight ammo increase for Al-Salam specifically. But yeah, what I'll say is, like, I think as you guys play more and you guys understand the game more, I think you'll start to realize how ammo usage is a skill issue. Hey, Karmakut, question. Just bought the supporter and so excited to play. I've been messing around in the train service. Glad to hear it. Okay. Vehicles are planned. Transport vehicles. Very light fire support vehicles. All right. Thoughts on raising the speed of AZ, seeing as fobs are so far away for cache placement? I know at one point y'all were thinking of spawning AZ in the middle map. AZ spawning in the middle map is a thing that will still be occurring. It just has to be done dynamically, which is causes just a little bit of grief. So we're just working through that. But there will not be any speed raise of AZ. Will there be an opportunity to add a check pulse feature for the medics? Right now, you just can't medic people who are dead. So if you can do medical, the player is still alive. That's how that works currently. Assuming with the addition of marksman rifles in September and further that optics or lower power option will not be coming to the current loadouts, such as scoped, and field ACOGs, etc. Yeah, the first iteration of magnified optics will very specifically be on the marksman rifles. Will chain of command passing happen in real time? Yes, they'll happen. It does happen in real time already. It's just it doesn't pass like buildable abilities down currently. Let's see here. Okay, I think we burned through the majority of these questions. Is there a chance for an inventory system like an Arma? We don't like doing any kind of like hard inventory system because I think it becomes a distraction. Like all medical and inventory interactions, we want to keep snappy. That's why they're designed this way. We don't want you clicking around in menus for an extended period of time. Will there be any sort of level up system? Yeah, progression is coming eventually. PvE is, there's nothing public that we've mentioned on PvE. Can we revert back to once you pick a role? Can we revert back to once you pick a role throughout the whole platoon, like when supporters? I don't know what that means, silly. I'm sorry. I don't understand that. Will LMGs and MGs get tracers? Work in progress by design. I know you want tracers, but you really don't want tracers. Tracers help both sides. I know you think you want tracers, but you don't really want tracers. When you shoot with tracers, you give up the whole like where you are advantage, which obviously in Bellum is a very substantial advantage because of the foliage and density and lighting fidelity. That it does become a whole big "I'm here, shoot me" kind of thing. I know you think you want it, but I trust me, you don't really want it. Okay. Do you think it makes sense to give all of the scout team binoculars? I feel like just having the SL and FPL, it makes the other two roles kind of weird. No, you don't, because you don't want both guys glassing at the same time. You really don't need that. It's kind of redundant. Yeah, no, there's no real need for that. How's it going with the day and night cycle? It's slow going. Savo's lighting was an approach from the devs team to a different way of us doing the lighting. So there's been a lot of, when I talk about earlier under the hood changes, there's been a lot that's foundationally changed on Bellum that we even have to syndicate and reconcile against Highlands and Kambori. So there's a lot. Okay. I think we've got through the majority of the questions here. How's arm stamina going to be implemented? It'll be sensible. A lot of the questions that you guys ask, just if you think, how does this work in real life? That is probably how we're going to do it. There's only a few things that we kind of have to gamify, which is going to be like the lives and the medical and the ammo, just because it is a video game. But as far as like the features and how certain mechanics should function, our goal is to get them to be as authentic as possible. Yeah. Ideally, what will medical have that doesn't currently? There's like one depth further of complexity we want to add. What that looks like, we don't have any concrete plans currently. There's a rework that we want to do first that refreshes all the current medical mechanics, and then there is going to be one layer of depth that we are going to add. Will there be controller support? That's something that like some of the devs are working on in their free time, just as like a side project. We have not had any major controller support efforts committed yet. I know you kind of touched on ammo capacity, but is there anything in the future for a resupply system like ASL or HQ being able to call in an airdrop? So that'll be the form of vehicles. Like once we have vehicles in, vehicles will be how you get supplies and resupply certain guys. It's just vehicles. Do you guys feel that being in the prone is a little more powerful than it should be? Assaulting in the prone is better than standing, than bounding or peeling. I mean, prone. I don't know. Prone is pretty strong. Yeah, prone is pretty strong. If you watch certain things, yeah. If you stand up or you run towards the end, yeah, it is. Skull dragging is a very effective tactic for a wide variety of reasons. We do think that we could do a couple things in regards to foliage. I think that is one thing that we need to address is like movement in foliage and how your visual signature should increase when you interact with certain foliage. That needs to be changed, and that does feel a little overpowered. But being prone is pretty strong. Like it is a real world meta. Yeah. Any plans for drone? Oh yeah, we covered that already. When do I get my whip antenna? That was in the original trailers. Yeah, we can look at adding some of those things back in, but that is for the JTAC role, which was removed because obviously there is no air to coordinate. Will the SL/TL have binocs in every other faction? Wait, what? Well, SL and TL have binos like recon in every faction. No. The current people who have binos are the people who have binos right now. Okay. That's going to be all the questions we're going to answer. Yeah. All right. Okay. We're going to jump on over to the experimental and get started here. So, thank you so much for coming out. Once again, this was recorded. I'll put this up for you guys. But otherwise, yeah, thanks for coming out, and we'll be running 1 or 2 rounds of this build. This build could be a little jank, and then later tonight we're doing another experimental test.